welcome to a new video. Yet another video that's not scheduled and not planned, because I need to do even more, call it emergency repairs, because things keep breaking down. And today I have this machine that you have seen before in earlier videos, and now it's back in the workshop again because it has developed a problem. I know what the problem is, or at least I think I know what the problem is, and we will come to that, but I need to start with getting the chain and bar of this one. And it's pretty easy to take them off on this one because you have this quick connection here. Just twist this one like that, and it releases everything, and then we can lift off the bar and chain and put that to the side. We are coming back to that later because we need to do some maintenance on that one also. And now we can dive in to the actual problem here, and for that we need to go in under the hood here. And as some of you might remember, here we have the air filter, and this is the air filter holder, and then we are supposed to have two nuts here holding down the holder, and it's also holding the carburetor. But the problem right now, I don't know if you can see it on camera when I do this, but if you look down between there, you can see that everything is moving, and that's due to this bolt, this nut missing. And this nut is not even tight. I can actually remove it with my fingers like that, and that's no good, because what happens is that, of course, it doesn't hold down the air filter, but it doesn't hold down the carburetor either, because the carburetor is held down with the nuts and it's pushing against here, so it seals with a seal between there. But when the nuts are missing and are loose like they are now, it sucks air between the carburetor and the seal, and the engine won't run right. And that's exactly what happened with this one. This ran perfectly after the last time we did service on this, when I filmed it, and suddenly it started to be a little bit hard to get it to react. I mean, when you gave it the throttle, it bogged down a little bit. The final time we used this, it got very hard to start, and it didn't want to go at all, almost. So I started to investigate, and that's when I found that one of these nuts was missing, and that this nut was loose, so loose that I could actually undo it by hand. And that's probably the cause for all the problem it had. Unluckily, it doesn't seem that the nut is here anymore. It has traveled to a different place, so I need to find myself one new of these nuts. And this time I'm gonna put a little bit of Loctite on them when I tighten this down, because I don't want this to happen again. So I will go search for another nut. I found a nut. I didn't find just one nut, I actually found two nuts. So I'm gonna change even this other nut out, because what I found was nylock nuts like that. I have two of them, and those are better because they won't release. So I will actually mount this back right now. There we have it. Now it's tight. So I will have to test this if this solves all the problems or if there is more problems that I don't know about. In that case, I need to visit this again. I have my grinding machine for chainsaw chains set up here, and I'm intending to sharpen the chain for the steel that was on the machine, because somebody, I'm not naming any names here, but somebody did drive this chain a little bit into the ground. The way you do that is that you release this stopper here, you pull the chain until you see the next bit coming like that, and when it stops like that, I tighten the chain, and then we have the angle of it like so, and everything on this should be set up so it should be ready just to go. Like so. Now we check it. I need some light. And it takes the edge, yes, it takes everything. So that's it. Now I just need to do this like a lot of times more. So I will just let you see it in a little bit of panic mode here. There you have it, a fully sharpened chain. Now we need to take care of the ridges. Before every teeth here you have a small ridge. That's the ridge that decides the cutting height of the chain. And when you sharpen it, you lower the cutting height because the back end of every teeth is leaning backward. So when you sharpen it, you make it shorter, that making it lower, that meaning that you need to adjust the ridges. And how I do it, there are different ways to do this, but I put it back in this machine. And then I put it in like I was about to sharpen it, but I will use a file, and I will file every tooth down maybe 2 strokes just to get them down a little bit so I get a better grip on the chain. So you will see that also in some crazy mode here. So there we have it, all the ridges is done. And what I did before I started to go around, I marked this with white paint, white marker, so I knew when I come back to this place again, so I don't start to file on the already filed ridges again, because that would be very bad. Then the chain will be all too aggressive. And to protect the chain while I was filing, I just put my fingernail on the tooth like that, and I filed with the file lying against my nail so I wouldn't damage the newly sharpened teeth. So that's it. That's a complete sharpened chain. So it's time to put that back on the machine. Here is the bar. I will just feel for any ridges on the bar itself. So the bar seems to be okay. And then we need the chain. Like so. So there it is. Now we need the machine. So we need to open this one again. And I know it's dirty, but it can be dirty because this is not maintenance time, this is repair time. So it will be better clean when it's time for maintenance. I will just quick clean it like that. Then we will put the bar back on, and it needs to go that way, and it needs to be shortened a bit like so, and then it needs to be tightened again like that. Then we need to take this one, put it on here again, and try to find the center hole like so. And how you adjust these bars is by releasing this a bit, and then up here we have an adjustment wheel that we can either tighten or loosen the chain. So tightening is forward and loosening is backwards to the back, against the back of the saw. So this is going forward, and I want it something like that. And when you are finished with that one, you tighten this one down. Like so. Then you feel the chain, and now it's too tight. So now I need to loosen it a little bit again. So I just go back like that. And then I go backwards a little bit. Then I tighten it again. And now it's good. So there it is. Now it moves like it should, and we have everything in its right place, and we have the right tensioning on the chain. So that's it with that. Now we just need to see what we have. We have a full tank, that's good, and we have almost full tank with oil. So everything looks good now. Now I need to go. No, I don't need to go. I need to do a test run of this one to see if it actually works as it should. So I have done a quick test run, and it does not run as it should. It's too lean on the throttle. It still seems to go very lean. Nope. There is something not right here. This needs a bit more investigation. It starts really easy. And it wants to run a little bit on idle. But there is no high end at all. Why is that? Why is that? It has a full tank of gas. Let's see how bad it is. Well, it's definitely not a fuel starvation problem, it's the opposite. It seems to get flooded. So, we probably have to go down on the high speed. That's why you always should check your spark plug, because the spark plug can usually tell much more than your ear or experience. So let's go down on the high speed. I believe it's this one. Let's make it 1/2 turn leaner and see what it says. Nope. I think we have to take the carb off to get any answers here. So I don't think there is anything wrong with the carburetor, because it looks super clean and nice. But as you can see here, it's actually torn right there. So I would say that this is just crap at this moment. Let's see if we have any OEM gaskets. This one is not the right one. Nope. This one is probably not the right one either, or is it? Let's see, there we have it. Actually, this one is the right one. Yeah, definitely. So, we can use that one. That was actually very, very lucky. I just happened to have the correct OEM gasket lying around. And I don't have to make one today. At this point, I have the gasket here. It's in, well, I can show you right now, but I have the gasket in place already. So I will put the carburetor back on here, like so. Then we have throttle that needs to go on. That's also a tricky one to do. And like that, now it's on, like that. And then we have the choke, and the choke needs to be on. I need a lever also, like that. We need to get it to the on position, and then get it on like that. There we have it, like so. And then finally we need the air filter housing going on there, and then we need the nuts. And I'm using the nylock nuts because I don't want this to loosen itself. And then finally we need to put the air filter back on like that. And then we're gonna put this one on a little bit later, but now I want to try it again. So let's see if we can get it going now. Well, you heard it, it runs. But for a moment I have no idle. So I need to adjust that. But I will wait a little bit with that because it's very smoky in here right now. So I need to get some air. I will do this a little bit later. So there we have it. It's much clearer now. Not so much smoke anymore. As you could hear when I tested it before I went out, you heard it went pretty good on the top, but it had no bottom end at all. So I will adjust it a little bit here. I think we will open this up like that. And I'm pretty sure we are pretty much spot on right there somewhere. So my friends, I have looked for the air filter and for some reason it's totally gone. It's nowhere to be found. There is no reason or anything for it to be gone. It should be right here. I looked at the latest footage, and when I looked at that, it was laying right here somewhere. But I have looked through this area, and I looked from the floor, I've looked everywhere, but I can't find it. I don't understand what happened to it and how it could disappear by itself, pretty much. But that doesn't matter. I adjusted the saw as you saw. We're gonna test start it and see if it runs. It will run the same with the filter or without the filter, doesn't matter. And if I can't find the filter, I have to buy a new one, because I have no spare filters for this one. That's why I wanted to find the filter, so I could use the saw without risking it getting dirty. But I won't use it until I have a filter. So as I said, either I find the filter somewhere and I put it back, otherwise I have to order a new one. So let's see if this bastard wants to run now. Or run, it does run, but rather if it has any idle. That's the part I'm interested in. And now it's cold again, so choke on. Like that. So I won't run it long because it gets so smoky again. But as you saw, now I have idle, just as I said. So I was prepared to put this on because I was pretty much 100% sure that I had fixed it. Only thing that stopped me was the air filter. So that made me lose my goal there. But let's put it on now. Why won't it go on? Well, I think it's this breather here that makes it go a little bit wonky. Like that. There it is. So I would say this saw is done. I only need the air filter. Everything else is fixed. It's sharpened and everything. So we will test run this. Well, now I'm gonna show you, well, we can't call it a life hack, but it's a money saver. So it's a bit of a hack. And what I'm talking about here is that bars and chains on saws are something that you need to change pretty often, and they are a bit expensive if you're gonna buy the high brand stuff. But there are ways a little bit around that, because like here in Sweden we have a retailer called like that. They are also available in Norway, Finland and Denmark. It's a pretty big chain of stores, and they sell their own branded products like chainsaws. And with those chainsaws they sell accessories like bars and chains like this. The thing with this is that it's not top quality, but it's good quality. It's actually pretty good stuff they sell, but they are dedicated for their own brands. So what I found out is that the most of the things they sell are copies of things, and those namely brand machines and things like that. And what I found out with this one, that these bars that they sell, can look at it, here's the bar, is actually a copy of a Husqvarna blade. Not the blade itself, but this part is pretty much a Husqvarna setup. If we look at a steel, I have a steel here. This is for steel. If you compare them side by side, I don't know if that's so good to have under there. Let's remove that. If you compare them side to side, you can clearly see that there is a difference in how they are set up, both in this center groove and also with the holes. The size difference of the holes and the placement of the holes. This meaning that this blade won't fit on a steel, and this blade won't fit on a Husqvarna. So whatever way you go, they won't fit. They aren't changeable with each other. But here comes the hack. What you can do is, if you buy this blade, and have a Husqvarna, no problem, you just bolt it on and you go out and saw. But if you have a steel, you want it to fit the steel, there is a way to do that. Because none of the holes interferes with the other holes. And if you put a Husqvarna, a steel blade up on the other blade, you get a template, which makes it able to mark out where you have the holes. This hole you will have to measure out, but these holes are actually available to see through, and you can mark them out, so you can bore these holes out. And when you do that, you will get two setups of fastening options. You will have the Husqvarna version. That's also the same you have on like McCulloch and machines like that. And then you will have the steel option. It doesn't need to be open back here. That doesn't matter. It can stay closed like that. This is open, but you don't use this part, so this can be actually open, closed, sorry. You only need to get the two new holes there, and you need definitely to get the placement of the bar oiler hole up here somewhere. As you can see, it's much higher than the Husqvarna version, so you can't just put a line like that and take out the distance from there to there and make a mark, because it will be in the wrong height. You need to actually measure from here up to there and get it set up like that, and then measure from there to there to get this distance and get the hole in the right position. And you also have to remember, if you want to have the blade so you can turn it around, you need to do the same on the other side. So otherwise you can only put the blade in one orientation. But I'm gonna drill this out and also drill that out. So and the hack here isn't just that I can use these blades. It's also that I have both Husqvarna machines and I have steel machines. And usually I have to have two different kinds of blades like this. I have to have the steel blades and I have to have the Husqvarna blades. And you always want spare blades, so you need to buy double of everything. By doing this, I can eliminate these blades and only use these blades. Because whatever machine needs a new blade, it will fit both machines. So I do this to all the new blades I buy. So they are universal for both my Husqvarnas and my steels. And why am I doing this? Well, original Husqvarna blades and steel blades. This is not an original, but it's still a steel blade. They are very expensive to buy. You usually can buy one original blade for the price of two of these high-end blades, like Oregon or Holzforma or something like that. But then again, you can get like 4 blades of these for the price of one of these. So these are cheaper, yes, than the originals, but these are extremely cheap against the original blades. But the difference between them isn't as big as you would think. I have used these blades a lot, and they work really fine. They have a good life expectancy, and yeah, they are pretty good blades. Of course, they are not as heavy duty as the original blades or these blades. These blades and the original blades are pretty much identical. There is not much difference between one of these and one of the original blades, or if you take like an Oregon and an original blade, they are pretty much the same. To these there is a difference. These are one step lower quality than these ones, but underneath these you have one more step of lower quality, and that's like China blades and things like that. Those are really, really low quality, and those are crap, because those bow, even if you do like that, they are so thin in the metal, so they actually bow when you do that. These one don't. And I can feel the weight difference. This is a little bit more heavy duty. It's a heavier blade. This is a little bit lighter, but it's also a little bit smaller blade. If you look at it, you see there is not as much meat on it on that direction. And there is also some short. This is a bit shorter. They are both, funny enough, 16-inch blades. So this is a 16-inch and this is a 16-inch. How that can be when there are a visible difference in between them, you ask me. Well, that's because this is a Husqvarna blade and this is a steel blade. If you move this forward like that to about where you have the holes, there is no longer much of a difference here. They are pretty much the same. And the only difference between them is the thickness, like that. This is a little bit thinner blade like that, but it's the inches go from here to here, from the fastening point to the edge, and that's 16-inch. But if you move it back to where you need to be for it to be a steel blade, it leaves some extra in front of here, but it will still be a 16-inch blade because you have moved the fastening holes back pretty much the same amount as you have extra over here. So it will still stick out 16 inches. That's why you get a little bit fooled when I use different kind of blades like this. So they look like they are different in length. The overall length is different, as I said, but what sticks out of the machine will be the same. So they are 16-inch blade. But as I said, this is one step lower quality than this. This is a little bit lighter than these. These are a heavier blade. And they are a little bit thinner. That also making it lighter. So there is probably a little bit less metal in this blade. But it's still a stiff blade. You don't bend this blade easily. So, and as I said, I have used these a lot. And they have worked just perfectly. And I like to change my blades pretty often. I don't want them to get worn down too much. And what are we talking then in money in these blades? Well, these blades costs somewhere around $12 to $13. I don't know the exact exchange rate, but between $12 and $13 for one of these blades. And you have the 66 link 16-inch chain in 0.325 inch, and these are $8 to $9 per chain. That's very cheap. So if I buy these chains, these are a high quality chain that I've used with these. They are not Oregon, but they are similar. These cost 3 times as much as one of these. So I can buy 3 of these chains for the price of one of these. And we won't even go into what the cost is for the original ones. But these are, as I said, very cheap chain. But they are still very good chains. They look like this. And one way to determine if there is any quality in a chain that you are buying, let's just untangle this one. So now I'm here with 2 different chains. This is the Biltema, the Swedish retailer chain, and this is a low quality China chain. It's slightly used, but the chain link connectors, namely these dots all the way here, are not as good tight on the chain, making the chain more able to be wobbly like that, and the links more loose. These links are a little bit more tight than these, because these are very loose. These are actually holding together themselves a little bit, whilst these are everywhere. They are going like however they want. And that makes the chain a much worse quality chain. And then of course there are things we can't see with our eyes, but we can notice when we use the chains, and that's the quality of the steel and the teeth, the hardening of the teeth and things like that. These China chains get dull like immediately, but as I have tested a lot of these chains, it has shown that the quality of the teeth and the hardening of the teeth, it's much better on these chain. They hold up for a lot of more sewing before they get dull. Of course you can't compare them to the original chains, or like Oregon, or like Holforma chains or something like that. They are one step, as I said, higher quality than these, and the same goes with their chains. They are also a one step higher quality. They are top-notch quality. You get the most saw time out of every chain you sharpen, and every new chain also, of course. These are one step lower quality. That's not much, and that's not saying much, but they dull a little bit faster than the original chains or the high performance chains, and that making they don't last as long before you need to sharpen them. But the good thing with them is that they are so cheap. So if you have a couple of these chains with you, you don't need to use it forever. You can use it until you feel it's starting to get dull. Then you easily just take out a new one, put it on, and then you have a fully sharpened chain again. And if you do that with perhaps 2, 3, or 4 chains, when you're done, you take them home, and they won't be especially dull, just a little bit. And then it's very easy to sharpen them up to practically new again. Whilst if you use these cheap China chains, it takes a lot of sharpening to get them sharp again. And they also have a tendency to bend inwards, making the chain thinner, and actually making the bar to bind in the wood you're sewing. So these are really crappy chains. I don't recommend anybody. They are super cheap, and that's the reason why they are super cheap, because they are super crappy. So I don't recommend anybody using these chains, because it's more work using these than it's worth. Try to find, as we have in Sweden, you probably have heard of marks like Casco and Canadian Tire and things like that. They probably have their own branded machines with spare parts also. And they usually don't buy the worst of the worst, because they don't want their name to be dragged in the dirt. So they usually use a little bit higher quality, just to not have that problem. Of course, they don't use the same high quality as performance parts, like, as I have said, Oregon, or the original parts like steel and Husqvarna. But they are one step lower, but that doesn't mean so much. They are still usable. And as price goes, they are much cheaper. This is a much cheaper alternative. You can have a lot of more bars lying around. You can have a lot of more chains lying around, and you can change them often instead of having to dull them down, so you have to work for hours to get them back in condition. So enough of that. Now I'm gonna convert this one to fit on both Husqvarna and steel. So let's do that. So then, as I may have not said before, this is not rocket science, so it's not too hard to do. You don't need to be a professor to make this happen. You only need to have some understanding of how power tools work. And the first thing to do here is to line them up. And since it's gonna be mounted in the machine with the back against the drive gear, you need to have efficient space in the back here for that drive gear not to hit the back of the bar. So it's very it's very crucial that you get this part here as equal as possible. Then it just comes to trying to mark out, see that you have your bar parallel all the way also. That's also a good thing. If it's as parallel as it can be. It can be like that. And then it's to try to, well, a white marker is not the best alternative here. I think I need to find myself a black marker. So here I have a black marker. So I just try to get the marking done down here, like that. If we remove this one, we should have markings there. Now I need to find my scribe. There and there. There I have the 2 points for the drilling. There we have the 2 new holes bored, and as you see they are a little bit wider than the Husqvarna holes, and they are a lot further back, and you see they will line up with these holes. And yes, these are 5mm and these are 6mm. That doesn't matter because the screw going through here is only 4mm, so it's enough. But now we have one crucial step left to do. And that's the oiler holes. We need to bore the 2 oiler holes. This one and that one. The same on this one. So we need one here and we need one here. And how you determine where you're gonna be is by, if you have an old bar, you lay it out like this and you place the hole up here. If you have a hole up here, you need a hole up here. So it's very easy to determine. That determines that this blade is going in that orientation, and the oiler bar hole is always on the right, left side of the fastening holes on the top here, like that. And the same goes for here. It goes there so it doesn't sit on the opposite side. And one more thing to notice with these holes, they are not, they don't go through. They only go into the middle. So you are only gonna bore through one of these sidebars here. Well, it's the outer one here. We're gonna bore through the outer one there and the outer one there, not through all the way. And that's for the reason that if you bore through, oil will just pass through the hole and run on the outside of the bar here. We want it to end up on the chain running in this groove. So it will be isolated in there and picked up by the chain. That's why I only bore halfway through. So I will measure where these holes are, because as I said, they are not see-through holes, so you can't do this and mark them out. That won't work. You need to measure them out. And the way to measure them out is from this edge up and from the back edge here, or from the center of the holes. So you can measure from there to there, or you can measure from here to here. And that's meaning if you have this lined up. If these matches up here, it's fully possible to measure from there to there and from here to here. If these doesn't match up, because the curve here is different in some way, you need to measure from something that you know is constant. And the easiest way is to measure from the center of the holes. Put a straight edge over here. If you put the straight edge over the center of the holes like that, and then you measure from the center there to the straight edge, you have one measurement here, and then you measure from the center of the hole down to this edge here. You get one measurement there, and that's how you can determine where these holes are going. So I will do that, and I will be back when I have drilled these holes out. So there we have it, newly drilled oiler holes. We have the one hole here, it's 3.5 millimeters, and we have the second hole here, it's 3.5 millimeters, because this one is 3.5 millimeters. This Husqvarna one is 4 millimeters. So you need to notice that you don't copy this one, that you actually copy a steel version. I don't know if it has any difference that this 4 and this is 3.5, but I made it 3.5, so we have 4 for the Husqvarna and 3.5 for the steel. And as you notice here, you can see now very clearly that these holes are bigger and they are closer to each other. These are smaller and they are further apart. And the same goes here. This is bigger and it's more to the center. This is smaller and it's further out from the center. So these 3 are the steel and these 3 are the Husqvarna ones. So the next part is to try to mount this on a steel. I know it goes on the Husqvarna, but now it should go on a steel also. So I will fetch one steel machine and we will try to fasten this one on that machine. So then I fetched myself one of my steels. It's one of these quick adjust versions. I know everybody doesn't like this. I do. Not most, but many wants the direct attached systems. But I like these quick attached systems. I think they are good because you can adjust your chain so very quickly with these. You only need to fasten this one, and that you do by taking one of these small screws. You can put it either here or here. There should actually be one there and one here, but I never used both of them. This is just so you don't drop this. If you take a bar off, you won't lose the adjustment in the snow or something like that if it's held down by at least one screw. Like so. Now it's sitting there, it can't move. It will be pressed down by the center bolt, so it won't really matter. And you see now we can do whatever adjustment we want here. So we will set it on its smallest adjustment, and we will take the machine and we will take one of the new chains here, like this one, and we will set it on the bar. And I always start with the top and then I work myself down on each side like this until I reach the bottom. I take the machine, try to tighten the chain a bit, find the center bolt, and we set the chain over, and then we adjust back a little bit to get the chain in position, get the cover, set that one over like that. Hello there guys, and welcome out into the snowy Sweden. Yes, this is how it looks most of the time right now. So yeah, it's nice to look at, but it's not as nice to be in because it's cold and the snow just keeps coming. But we are not here to look at snow. We are actually here to take a test drive of this. And I will just saw as much as I can of this. I need to cut this up in smaller pieces. That's what's going out on. But the main thing here is to see how this works now when it's fixed. Well, not that. It's actually fixed. So let's do that. Come on. So let's go. everybody, I'm back in the car. I have the car running. I hope you can hear me anyway. It got very, very dark and it started to snow very, very heavily, so I had to abort everything. That was not my choice, that was just something that had to be happening. So let's talk about the technical aspects here of the saw. The steel, in this case, that I have tried today, it worked just fine. There was no problem with it. It started good. It was a little bit hard to start in the beginning because it was flooded, and that was due to it had been lying on its side in the back of the truck. But as soon as it cleared, it worked just fine, and I had no more problems with it. And I'm not really finished because I have more work to do, but I can't do it because now it's dark, and mainly why I quit was because it started to snow extremely heavy. It has come like 1 inch in like 20 minutes now, so I'm starting to get snow in here. I need to get moving so I can actually get home from here. But anyway, the saw did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it worked just fine. And I'm really happy with it, and now it's ready for use again. A new chain on it, and it will work perfect. About the other two machines, you had the Husqvarna 444. I actually gave up on that one because it had more problems that's not worth really fixing. It's an old saw, it's a good saw when it works, but it needs a couple of spare parts that are extremely expensive, and I don't want to put that into that old saw. I rather save that money and buy another saw, a new saw. Then we have the Husqvarna 50. That one is actually finished, and I was supposed to show that today, but I forgot to put any bar oil in it. That's the problem. That's why I didn't take it out and start it, and I didn't have my bar oil with me. It's actually back in the garage or the workshop. It wasn't much to do on that one. It was mostly in need of some parts. So I put a new chain and bar on it, I put a new air filter on it, I put a new spark plug in it, and that's pretty much it. I changed the suction tube for the gas and the filter also. That's what I did. Not much, nothing more than that. So that's finished. And as I said, the 444, sadly enough, it's going to the scrapyard. Not the scrapyard, but I'm scrapping it because it's not worth saving anymore. It's too old, and the parts are now too expensive. And these are some parts that are not available as aftermarket parts. They are only available as original parts, and they are crazy expensive. So that's why she will retire, and you won't see her anymore. Sadly enough, but that's how it is. You can't win them all. So with that said, I hope to see you in the next one. I won't say when it will be because I don't even know myself. I hope this heavy snowing and cold weather will let up a little bit so we can do something. Other than that, I'm pretty much dedicated to the workshop, and I don't have as much projects in there right now as I would like to, but I have some. So one more thing, I want to thank everybody that has subscribed and watched my channel, and you can also support the channel by going to my merch shop. You'll find the links down here somewhere to the merch shop, and you have the Patreon, and you have the Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support me like that, or just join the channel and put some likes down. That's also nice. Everything helps, and comment and share, and you know the bit. So do that to help me out. I would really appreciate that. So with that said, I hope to see you in the next one, and thank you for watching today. Bye.
I drive up the snowy mountain road. Snowflakes dance in the twilight glow. Tires crunch on the frozen ground as the world turns the winters white. Through the snow, through the night, on this mountain, reaching new heights, with the stars as my guiding light. I drive up the snowy mountain road.